Hello, welcome back to Talking Europe from Luxembourg. In this programme, we've been looking at how this country has been handling the coronavirus pandemic, particularly in terms of assuring its food supplies. Well, in part one of the programme, we caught up with some of the politicians who've been making the policy decisions on food and farming. In this part of the show, we're going to meet some people putting forward alternative visions. So the first person we're meeting in this part of the programme is someone with a job I didn't even know exists, a food sociologist, Dr. Rachel Reckinger from the University of Luxembourg. Hi there.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. You're also an anthropologist, I should say. I wanted to talk to you about how Luxembourg handled the health crisis vis-à-vis food. What did it look like when you went into a supermarket, say, mid-late March?
Well, there were some shortages. There was some hamster purchases being done, mainly on meat, which is basically the commodity we're not short of. We're not short of this. So Luxembourg is self-sufficient 99% of milk, and on top of that, it exports 80% of the total volume of milk. And this is probably not a national apple because we only produce less than 1% of fruit. We're between 3 and 5% for vegetables. So people were buying lots of meat it showed a bit of irrationality, and it maybe also points to the artificiality of the abundance that we see usually in our supermarkets, that we can buy as much as we want and too much. With the crisis, it became too much. So became too much buying. So there were shortages at the end of the day, well, in the afternoons.
Do you think that there should be a permanent change in how Luxembourg produces its food?
Food sovereignty built on diversified agroecological systems would be the ideal case, because it provides a maximum of variety of products in a maximum level of autonomy that is possible to achieve with the given natural and human resources that are there. But with the condition that there is manpower, more manpower, and there is also watering infrastructure, and also very importantly, those diversified agroecological systems require more knowledge. So there needs to be knowledge exchange between farmers themselves, and between also farmers and researchers. If companies then, farms or also other production companies, want to switch or do a conversion, there is an economical risk, and that economical risk needs to be withheld by political guarantees and by market incentives, and that's where policy is required.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your ideas with us, Dr. Rachel Reckinger.
You're welcome.
Well, let's look back across the border now into France. Farmers there trying to balance competing demands about sustainable farming goals with the stresses of a global health crisis. This report comes from Mathilde Penezet and Céline Schmidt.
Wine growing is a peculiar profession to fall into. At 21 years old, Lenny, who works part-time in the entertainment business, had no idea he'd end up in the fields.
Ça va, ça se passe bien.
Quand tu arrives au pied comme ça, tu vois, des fois les agrafes, comme on a passé les charrues la semaine dernière, elles sont sautées. Donc pour bien resserrer les fils, tu peux remettre une agrafe ici, comme ça tient bien les fils.
Ok, ça marche.
Out of a job because of the coronavirus, he signed up to a national scheme to fill the gap in the agriculture workforce caused by a lack of usual foreign seasonal labourers. In a few days, the project had more than 300,000 people enroll. Lenny was one of them and was sent to help out the Bouillon family in France's Champagne region.
Une fois qu'on travaille dans le milieu, on ne voit plus du tout le travail d'agriculteur de la même manière. S'il y a des orages, de la grêle, tout, et ben tout le travail qui a été fourni tout au long de l'année va être perdu. Je trouve qu'ils sont quand même vachement courageux d'affronter tout ça.
Fabrice Bouillon, who took over the family estate 20 years ago, is keen to show people how demanding the work is day to day.
C'est quand même, je pense, important qu'à un moment donné, les gens fassent un lien entre ce qu'ils mangent et comment c'est produit. Et donc je trouve ça très bien que des gens puissent venir découvrir ce que c'est que le métier d'agriculteur. Et c'est pas désagréable de voir un peu des gens en dehors de notre cercle habituel.
Olivier Coupry also wants to bring people closer to the way their food is made. In September, the cereal farmer set up a hotline, allowing French people to call and find out more about agriculture.
Et ici la terre, Olivier, bonjour.
Before lockdown, the 100 or so calls a month were usually about animal welfare or pesticides. Since then, he's noticed a change.
Les gens nous ont recontactés parce qu'ils cherchaient à travailler ou à contacter la plateforme des bras pour ton assiette ou à trouver des adresses de producteurs locaux pour venir s'approvisionner directement.
The enthusiasm's been good for morale, but he says that it'll take more than that to defeat a malaise among farmers that's been growing for decades.
Nous, des crises sanitaires dans nos champs, on en a tout le temps. Donc là, l'ensemble de la population a été confrontée à ce que nous, on vit tous les ans sur nos exploitations. Dans les années précédentes, on a fait beaucoup d'efforts sur le bien-être animal, etc. Il faut avoir en tête que maintenant, il faut faire des efforts sur le bien-être des agriculteurs. Voilà.
Their welfare's taken another hit from the virus's effect on the economy. Olivier Coupry expects to lose almost a third of his barley production, given the lack of demand. But the worst might be yet to come. Occupational health doctor Véronique Maitz-Lenormand has also created a hotline, this one for farmers in distress.
Après un mois et demi de confinement, on a vu apparaître des difficultés plutôt d'ordre administratif pour notamment les chefs d'entreprise qui devaient embaucher des saisonniers, et puis leurs salariés qui devaient être en chômage partiel. Et début mai, ça a été les notions d'insécurité sur l'après. Est-ce qu'on va pouvoir retrouver une vie normale?
An uncertain future is cause for concern in an already fragile industry. On average, around 2 farmers in France take their lives every day.
Well, as you can see, we're back on the farm. I'm making new friends with these lovely hens. This farm is called Casse Half. It's an organic farm. And the owners here are on a mission to prove that you can produce food in a way that's more respectful to the planet, to the animals, and healthier for people. They run education sessions as well. Now, I'm here in the company of Tilly Metz, who is a Green MEP involved in the decision-making process for farm policy. We can't shake hands, so I'll say hello.
Hello. Hello.
Tell us why you wanted us to come to this farm.
Yeah, for me, I hope that's what the future is going to look like. You know, a farm with a lot of diversity, a farm with hens, with cows, swine, and also producing their own feed for the animals, and on the other side bringing the consumer closer to the farmer again.
Now, during the crisis period, as we just saw in our report from France, a lot of farmers really struggled to keep going, to get hold of aid money. The EU Commission tells us that it scrambled and worked really fast to fix the big problems of border closures and transport. Do you think that they did a good job?
I think they were very quick in liberating money, giving advance on the cap, giving subsidies, making green lights on the frontiers. So during the crisis, I think they were able to show some flexibility concerning also the rules of the aid of member states, yes, but really to avoid future pandemics and also to fight the loss of biodiversity and to fight climate change, we have to do a more fundamental paradigm shift.
Looking specifically here in Luxembourg, the government says that it is hopeful that they can find a new stability, if not the old normal. What's your prediction for the recovery after the COVID-19 crisis, the economic disruption to daily life and health?
I think the consumers are ready and people want this ecological transition now that they are aware that this zoonosis, so this disease is coming from the animal and also from the land grabbing we are doing on the wild animal. They want to have a change in the agriculture. So it might be really also an opportunity with the support of the consumers, of the politicians, to do this ecological transition, and also to be more independent in and more sovereign in Luxembourg. You must know that we have an overproduction of animal products, but we are not even 1% in fruit production and between 3 and 5% of vegetable production. And a lot of intensive farmers import, of course, the feed, the soya, which is genetically modified. They import the feed for the animals. So this COVID-19 crisis showed also our dependency from imports and also from export.
OK, well, we'll take a look outside Luxembourg now into your giant neighbour, Germany. Our correspondent, Anne Maillet, across the border, has been to meet farmers as European farm policy is taking a shift. She's been asking them if they think the future is bright or not.
The coronavirus crisis is a French fry crisis for Christophe Platt. With restaurants and cafeterias closing and big events cancelled, this potato producer farming north of Berlin has found himself with 400 tons of spuds on his hands. He can't sell them, and so will lose 50,000 euros this year alone.
Die Ware, die jetzt nicht abverkauft wurde, wird jetzt praktisch aufbereitet und an Milchviehbetriebe verkauft. Corona toppt das Ganze noch, ja. Also zusätzlich zu den normalen Naturkatastrophen, mit denen wir gerade als Landwirte umgehen, kommt halt noch Corona und auch andere Dinge, die so auf uns zurollen mit Düngeverordnung und diesen Dingen stimmen uns ja auch nicht positiv.
Because the rest of the year isn't looking good. So for now, all he wants is for any changes to the Common Agricultural Policy to be postponed. Platt now earns 200 euros per hectare from Europe on a total of 2,000 hectares. And he hopes it will stay that way, because he says the European Commission's new strategy simply can't work.
Man darf den Markt auch nicht außer Acht lassen. Wir haben immer eine Diskussion zwischen zum Beispiel Biolandwirtschaft, konventioneller Landwirtschaft. Und nun wird gesagt, zum Beispiel bis 2030 möchte die EU 25% Biolandwirtschaft haben. Dann frage ich mich, ja, aber ist denn der Markt mit 25%, ist das denn überhaupt aufzunehmen?
Even for organic farmers, times are tough. Prices have been dropping these past years. Volker Schmoll has 130 cows who calve, but he sells their offspring at a loss. Until now, he's made ends meet thanks to his hotel activities south of Berlin.
Also ich denke, aufgrund unserer besonderen Situation, würde ich sagen, können wir noch ein gutes Jahr durchhalten.
Schmoll has paid 200 euros per hectare for each of the two pillars of the Common Agricultural Policy. He has 450 hectares, but still fears more trouble, more rules, more competition.
Der jetzt beschritten wird, äußerst gefährlich. Wir fahren das hier alles runter, wir verschieben das ins Ausland. Wir sagen, holt es aus China, Argentinien, Brasilien. Unkontrollierbar, Hauptsache billig.
In Germany, farmers are getting angry, whether they have conventional or ecological farms, and even if their interests sometimes don't coincide. Since October, there have been more and more demonstrations, a new kind of mobilization for this country. This month, they gathered in Berlin to say they've had enough.
Wenn diese Auflagen immer höher werden, dann können wir diese Kosten, die dadurch entstehen, einfach nicht mehr aufbringen.
Ich sehe meine Zukunft stark in Gefahr und fühle mich eigentlich von der Politik auch verraten und verlassen. Richtig verlassen.
Under pressure, the German government is keeping its cards close to its chest. This economist wants the common policy reformed and says Berlin is waiting out the clock.
Erstmal leicht gesagt, und da sind wir uns alle einig, dass wir das Geld besser ausgeben sollten, aber es wird dann ja ganz konkret. Wie viel dieser Mittel aus den heutigen pauschalen Flächensubventionen werden denn in Zukunft stärker an Ziele gebunden? Und da hat sich Deutschland bisher nicht klar positioniert.
In these times of coronavirus, Berlin might even get a little more time. The Federal Agriculture Ministry has let it be known it would be favorable to pushing back any reform.
Well, we're still here at the Casshaf farm with Luxembourgish Green MEP Tilly Metz. And the chickens have left us a little bit, so we might have a bit more peace and quiet. While we watched that report, we heard from German farmers about how, some of them think that maybe EU farm policy is not going in the right direction for them right now. What's your take about that European level of policy?
If you have a short vision, only looking to very short benefits, maybe that's an option. But I say at the long time, we have to do this ecological transition of agriculture if we want to create also job, because ecological agriculture allows to create job. If we want to live and to respect our natural boundaries, not doing harm to the environment, but also the human health, then we have to do this ecological transitions.
There are a lot of demands on farmers right now, however, meeting climate change goals, sustainability, as we've said, and the general economic slump caused by the pandemic, which is a massive shock to European economies. Given all of that, can all of these policies that you're talking about be paid for realistically?
We also have to put the budget in there, of course, to support the farmers to do this transition and to listen really to their needs, what they think they have to do. So lowering the budget of the common agriculture policy is certainly not the solution. Right now, the budget is nearly a quarter of the whole budget for the European Union, so it's a serious budget. But on the other thing, the important thing to think about is really how do we do the repetition, the distribution of this budget. And there it's important that we have a real paradigm shift, that we go away from the subsidies due to the surface, to the hectares, but really considering the performance, the quality of the work, and maybe giving a base salary to the farmers who are doing a great job, if they want to, in respecting the environment, animal welfare, etc.
We will, of course, have to wait and see. Thank you so much for now, Tilly Metz.
Thank you for being here.
And thank you as well for watching our programme. I hope to see you soon on Talking Europe on France 24.
Because a new page of history gets written every day. Because breaking news can't wait. Information everywhere. In all situations. On every subject. Understanding the world. Imagining the world. France 24. A different take on the news.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.